Hi, I'm that Slavic writer guy, and today we're going to be talking about Giacomo Rossini's operatic farce in two acts, L'Italiana in Algeri, or The Italian Woman in Algeria. In this opera, a powerful Turkish noble sets out to prove his manhood only to get cuckolded by not one, but two women, one of whom is an Italian. To find out how she and a small group of her wily fellow countrymen show the biggest boss in Algiers to be a total bumbling idiot, Gremo Opero. L'Italiana in Algeri first premiered in Venice at the Teatro San Benedetto, the precursor to La Fenice, on May 22, 1813. Composed at a breakneck pace by Rossini during a period of 3 or 4 weeks, depending on who you ask, the opera was generally considered to be a success right from the outset. Today, it is one of this very prolific composer's most widely performed works, along with such other of his hits, like The Barber of Seville or La Cerentola. Without further ado, let's get down to our cast of characters. Starting off, we've got Mustafa, the Bey of Algiers, and basically the head guy for the Ottoman Empire in the general area of Algeria. He is played by a bass and is generally bored with the delights that his wife and all of his harem can offer. Next up, we have Elvira, Mustafa's wife, who is played by a soprano and is utterly distraught about the fact that her husband no longer wants to enjoy le joie de vivre with her, but isn't really quite too sure what to do about it other than wring her hands. We've then got Zuelma, her confidant. She's played by a mezzo-soprano and basically chit-chats with Elvira. We also have, it looks like Halle, but it's basically the Italian spelling of Ali, who is played by a tenor or a bass, weirdly, depending on the setting or stage of the opera. I guess just because the part is mostly talk singing, it's kind of up for grabs what vocal role plays him, because bass and tenor, it's kind of on the opposite ends of the man's singing spectrum. But he is the dutiful guard and kind of captain of Mustafa's posse. Then moving on to our Italians, we have Isabella, a stranded Italian woman who is by no means planning to take this lying down and has an excellent head on her shoulders as well as an amazing figure on her body. We then have Lindora, who as we meet him is serving as a slave to Mustafa. But before he became enslaved in Mustafa's stare, when he was back in Italy, he and Isabella already fell in love. And finally, we have Taddea. He is sort of a well-meaning, bumbling Italian old gent who is very, very taken by Isabella's physique, but generally runs around being a somewhat useful old coot as the plot of the opera plays out. As our scene opens, we are in the palace of the Bey of Algiers, or as it would happen in the staging that I've chosen to show here, we are in the palatial apartment of a local crime boss in Algiers, and I've chosen this more modern staging just because I think it's more clear who is who and who is doing what to whom, rather than a bunch of Turkish robes flowing around. As we begin, anyway, Elvira is talking to her slave/friend, depending on the staging, about how her husband no longer loves her anymore, while shortly thereafter, Mustafa is talking with his best buddy and captain of his gang of gangsters, about how he is planning to actually marry Elvira off to his slave because he's bored with her, thus get rid of her. And that in addition to Elvira, he's also really bored with his entire harem. Talk about first world problems, right? And to show his manhood, he wants to conquer an Italian girl. So he, as you do, tells Ali that he just must go out and find someone somewhere. So after that lovely discussion, Lindora is left alone, and he starts to sing about Isabella, his true long-lost love in Italy. And then Mustafa shows up to explain to the fact that he can't really marry Isabella, not even that Mustafa knows Isabella even really exists, but because he's now expected to marry uh, uh, Elvira. And even though Lindoro would like to say no, no, and fuck no, the bay is the bay, so what he goes counts. Next scene, we move on to the seashore. And a ship has been wrecked in a storm, or as it would be in this staging, a group of Italian tourists gets stranded and kidnapped by their guides. And among them are Isabella and Taddeo. And so once she realizes that she's kind of been stranded in this sketchy neighborhood in Algiers and has just been kidnapped, she laments her state and then follows that on with another song about how she has to see this through and figure out a way out of this shit show that she's stumbled into. Because, I mean, she's just a lowly tourist. Who asked for this, right? But she vows to buck up as Hali takes her to the palace or the boss mafia headquarters of Mustafo, and Tadeo kind of gets off, by going in with with her as opposed to just thrown away along with the other Italian tourists as her uncle. And of course, Ali is really expecting, an extra bonus, I guess, from his boss to learn that he's captured a bunch of Italians, among them this hot Italian woman. So Isabella and Taddeo kind of put their heads together, and Isabella makes it no secret that she just thinks that Taddeo is a crazy old coot, but they kind of decide that they're all in this together for as long as this bullshit goes on, and they have to throw their lots in together. So, back at Mustafa's gangster lair, Lindoro is still not feeling too psyched about this whole marry Mustafa's wife thing, but Mustafa offers to basically let him go and put him on a ship heading back to Italy if he'll just agree to marry Elvira and get her out of the picture for him. And Lindoro agrees, but kind of equivocates, going, well, maybe you should just let us get on that ship back to Italy first, Mustafa, and then I'll kind of consider marrying her, once I get there. And Mustafa seems kind of fine with that because it at least gets Elvira out of his hair. Then ecstatic Ali enters, going, hey, guess what, Mustafa? I found a hot Italian girl just for you. And of course, Mustafa is really feeling his druthers at hearing this. And so, surrounded by eunuchs, or as it would happen in this stage, Mustafa's main men, Isabella finally enters, and she basically starts out by making fun to herself of Mustafa's rather rotund appearance. Taking the opportunity of this new Italian's entrance, Elvira and Zulma, along with Lindora, kind of pop in to go, hey, Mustafa, we're going to say goodbye while the going's good. But then Lindora and Isabella see each other, and they're like, holy fuck, it's my true love. And Isabella, being the good Italian woman with the head on her shoulders that she is, kind of gets in Mustafa's face and is like, no, these guys need to stay. They really need to stay, right? You have to keep your ex-wife with you, because that's really what I would like you to do from the outset. And so, because he wants to impress Isabella, Mustafa actually agrees to let Elvira stay, and therefore, her fiancé, Lindoro, along with the process. And, she basically goes on a whole thing about, I do know Lindora, but there's no really real need to worry about him staying because, he is, a sucky lover and he doesn't really even know what love is. So just let him stay. And so Mustafa is like, yeah, I want to get into this girl's good graces and by extension her pants. So they all sing about what a fucked up situation is by all talking, singing at the same time, and a back war. Act 2. Elvira and Zulma have taken note of Isabella's, can-do spirit and wiliness based off her first appearance to Mustafa. And meanwhile, Mustafa, being the gloating douchebag that he is, reveals his very simple strategy for getting in Isabella's pants. And so he's going to bring Lindora in to kind of act as his servant and spy on her and what she likes and all that. And he also gets Tadeo, who's afraid for his life, to kind of help out with this. So he tells Tadeo to go say that, Mustafa is going to come to you and he's going to have coffee with you. And I guess it's like coffee, not a drink, because Mustafa is a Muslim, so there's apparently no booze involved. Meanwhile, Lindora and Isabella are alone, and he kind of comes clean straight off the bat that he has absolutely no intention of wanting to marry Elvira whatsoever, and thinks the whole thing is just Mustafa's bullshit. And so they resolve to escape together somehow, some way. Meanwhile, Tadeo is still sort of not so too sure about this whole working for Mustafa kind of a thing. But Mustafa gets around this by declaring him the Great Lord of Kalmakan, whatever the fuck that means, and it's apparently just a bullshit title. Tadeo accepts this, going kind of, okay, I guess I have to. Meanwhile, while that's going on, Isabella is getting ready for the day in the rooms that Mustafa has given her, and Tuama and Elvira deliver the message. Mustafa, the grand douchebag, is coming to have coffee with you. So she basically tells Elvira that she has this whole situation under control, tells her to, wait in the room next door. She kind of hypes up Mustafa down there by singing a really romantic song while he approaches. As he approaches, Mustafa tells Tadeo, his new Great Lord of Kalmakan, that I'm just going to come in with you, and then when I sneeze, that's your cue to just leave. So we're left alone together, just Isabella and I. And so Tadeo shows proudly up with him, but then Mustafa sneezes and Tadeo is going nowhere. And at that point, Isabella calls the coffee to be served with 3 places, and then invites Elvira, his old wife, to come out. So while this farce is going on, Hali is busying himself elsewhere in the palace, singing about how great and what great lovers Italian women are. While he's doing that, Tadeo shows up and is like, yeah, I'm not this girl's uncle, but I just know it that Isabella really has the hots for me, so I must be your lover. And of course, he doesn't even know Tadeo is Isabella's real lover. And so Tadeo just kind of goes along with this because the one common thing that all the Italians have is that they really need to get the fuck out of them. So they resolve to collude. And Lindora then goes back to Mustafa and is like, actually, you know what? Isabella really, really is hot for you, Mustafa, and she's gonna do this great Italian thing that's a huge honor for you by declaring you her great palpatacci and lover boy. And of course, because this guy is Algerian, he doesn't really means that they're calling him a sandfly who's a quiet thing that does nothing but eat. Mustafa is really excited that his new hooker is so down with him that she's giving him this great foreign honor, and runs off to ardently prepare for the ceremony, while basically everyone else, like Ali and Zulma basically kind of are looking at the amount of booze they're ordering for this ceremony, so I guess there is alcohol involved at all, and it's kind of like, what the fuck is she really planning? So then we go back to Isabella's rooms, and she's getting all of the other slaves that he's captured from Italy. In this staging, it's really all the other captured Italian tourists. And she's preparing them all to be fellow Palapatacci, or in this case, Slavish football fans. And she goes, "Don't worry, guys, I'm going to be the one who leads you out of this shit." And so they start with this ceremony where they dress Mustafa up in this like weird bullshit nightgown, and he's so delighted with the new honor that he goes along with this, even swearing the oath of the Palapatachi, which is to do nothing but eat, drink, and shut the fuck up no matter what. So he says these words and is totally oblivious to the fact that the Italians and Taddeo and Isabella have conveniently decided to hop on the ship that just happens to be going by. So they all get on the ship, and Mr. Mustafa, the Palapachi, who goes around proclaiming that he's not an idiot, he's being given this great honor, doesn't notice until too late that he has gotten the wool totally pulled over his eyes. And the Italians wave bye-bye to the Algerians and head home back to the EU, while Mustafa is left there with Elvira, who is thankfully to have her husband back, and Mustafa is basically just going, you know what, fuck Europeans and their shit. The end. So that is L'Italiana in Algeri. Just some Italians popping down to North Africa, waving Italian flags, and pulling one over on the local Algerians' eyes in a farcical show of "Woot woot, go Italy!" And no, this one really is a farce. Cases of mistaken identity, dressing up the Bey of Algiers as a bumbling idiot and showing him like the bumbling idiot he is. Don't read too much into this. It was composed by Rossini in the 19th century, the early 19th century. You're supposed to laugh. So please, again, just with this one, check your political correctness or whatever other bullshit you have at the door. Yeah. With that, I am that Slavic writer guy. You can be a hater of this one, not be a hater of this one. Like what I've said about it or don't. Hate it, whatever. I don't care. Subscribe or don't. Like it or don't. Because I'm me, and I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want anyway. So, until my next opera talk, as we say here in Slovenia, na svidenje.